and welcome or welcome back to my channel. This is Duality Unfolding and I am Kathy. So I have a reading for you today that is about what makes you magical. I just feel like we're I feel like we're kind of in this time when things are getting like lighter and brighter, and I feel like a lot of things in the world are still not amazing, but it feels like energetically there's been like some shifts around things that we're starting to feel more empowered. We're starting to kind of see this light at the end of the tunnel. We kind of are coming into this time where we have a much more realistic view of ourselves and what our gifts are. And in the spirit of that, I just wanted to do a reading, just offer a reading about what makes you magical. So as you can see, I have 4 groups here to choose from. So I pulled a random card from each deck that I'll be using for the reading, as well as a different crystal. So group number 1, your card is the Emperor. And your crystal is this little tiger's eye heart. Group number 2, your card is the Lovers. And your crystal is this amethyst. Group number 3, your card is the 8 of Cups. And your crystal is this tourmalated quartz. And group number 4, your card is the 3 of Pentacles. And your crystal is this little mystery agate. I'm not sure what this little guy is, but he's pretty. I like him. So as always, take all the time that you need. Timestamps are below. If you would like to watch more than one reading, you are always welcome. I just hope that this reading brings you a reminder of how magical you are. That if you're not feeling so magical, if you're not feeling so great about yourself, I hope that this gives you some support and encouragement, and just, lets you know that that you are important and you're loved and you are cared for by so many people, by the universe, by God's source spirit, by me. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for spending time with me. And I just hope you enjoy the reading. So I will see you guys in whichever reading that you choose. Hello, group number 1. So if you chose this tiger's eye heart and the Emperor card, this is your reading. So I pulled 4 tarot cards for you, as well as a lot of oracle cards. So yeah, we'll see how this guy, well, actually, let me talk about this guy first. So one of the things that makes you magical is your sovereignty and your autonomy, like your knowingness in who you are, like how grounded you are in yourself. The Emperor is associated with the sign of Aries, and Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. Aries represents the self, our identity, the way that we show up in the world, the times that we need to go it alone, the times that we need to do things that are hard or different or scary or even exciting and fun on our own. And so I feel like there's collectively, like, we've had this energy of codependence for a long time, and I feel like the North Node being in Aries right now and the South Node being in Libra, like, what we're moving towards is independence in terms of individually deciding what is best for me as an individual, and also honoring that other people might decide that what is best for them isn't the same as what is best for us, recognizing that it is not always our place to decide what is best for other people. Obviously there's exceptions to that, right? If you were a caregiver for someone, if you were a parent, if you're, you know, in a committed relationship and you know, you need to be on the same page with someone else, whether that's like a love relationship or a business partnership, or even like, you know, being a member of like a team or a family that has dedicated themselves to, you know, moving towards the same goal, we still need to consider the things that are important to us individually. And you know, with that codependent energy, that Libra energy that's in the South Node, we are letting go of the focus being on the other, which is really kind of what codependency is rooted in. It's rooted in this belief that like, I need other people to do what I'm doing, or I need someone else to validate my worth, or I have to be providing to someone else in order to be worthy or to be deserving, or I have to refer to other people before I can make decisions for myself. And this can be whether you are in relationship or not. Sometimes it has nothing to do with that other person. Sometimes that other that we are considering is, you know, social norms, or our career, or our status, or expectations that maybe were put on us that we are not sure that we ever really agreed with. And so I feel like one of the magical things about you is that you're coming into this deeper sense of knowing who you are, and really allowing yourself, really embracing that it's okay for you to kind of stand on your own. And that like, that doesn't mean that you're alone, or that you're lonely, or that you're abandoned. Like, I feel like one of the beautiful things about this card is that the Emperor's feet, like the Emperor is essentially a tree. There's a tarot reader named Lindsay Mack. She has a podcast. It's called Tarot for the Wild Soul. And then she also does like tarot classes. But when she talks about divine masculine and also the Emperor energy, which is what, you know, divine masculine is represented by the Emperor card, like she equates the Emperor and divine masculine to a redwood tree, you know, that like, or a mountain that, and if you've watched my other videos, you probably have heard me reference this before, but I feel like this is just a really beautiful depiction of this, you know, because this Emperor is rooted and grounded and secure in who they are. They are holding this kind of orb, almost like a crystal ball in a way. And then, you know, instead of leaves, there's this beautiful kind of ethereal cloud carving thing around them. And it's like this really beautiful balance of like earth and air, of the seen and the unseen. Just being able to have like this balance, right? Because like all this nature is delicate softness, and then when we look up here, it's like marble and stone, you know. And so it feels like you're really coming into creating a sense of balance for you, you know, that some people, you know, I feel like a lot of times people talk about balance, and it's always comparative between two things, right? Like work-life balance, that like, you know, if you have a really demanding job, you know, you have to make sure that you carve out time for your personal life. But I feel like in the collective, there's so many more people that are moving into like entrepreneurship, that are like solopreneurs, people that are really invested in like passion projects. And so to tell someone that's like a solopreneur or even an entrepreneur that like you need to have work-life balance, like that's that's not really how that works. Also, like someone that has a passion project, like if their passion is in doing the thing that other people would call work, like who is anyone else to tell them how to spend their time or live their life? You know, it just like, it makes me think of like workplaces where there's someone that doesn't have children and everybody knows that person doesn't have children, so they get scheduled for like short notice things, or like the kind of crappy shifts because like, well, you don't have anybody else, so like we're not disrupting somebody else's schedule if we schedule you for this. Like the individual isn't considered. And I feel like when people talk about like that work-life balance in society, there's this expectation that like it has to look one way, And I feel like the magic, like what makes you magical is that like you don't subscribe to that, you know, that like for you, work-life balance could be working 10 hours a week and spending the rest of the time doing whatever you enjoy. And it doesn't really matter to you if people feel like you don't have a real job, or that like you're not accomplishing things, or that like you aren't making an impact in the business world. Like you kind of like march to the beat of your own drum, right? The emperor doesn't ask for permission. The emperor doesn't look for approval. The emperor just is who he is. So I feel like that's one thing that's really magical about you and really beautiful, because I feel like when we live in our authenticity, the people around us witness that. And in some way, it might not be immediate. It might be something that takes root and doesn't blossom for years. But like when we live in our authenticity and we are doing things our own way, it gives people permission to do things in their own way, to do things differently. And I feel like there's so much power in that, in just allowing people to witness you operating in your authenticity, because it gives them permission to unravel the programming that they have absorbed, that they've never questioned whether they actually want it or not. They haven't questioned like if it resonates for them, if it feels right. Like they haven't considered it. They took for granted that they didn't have a choice. So very powerful. And the emperor, you know, is very powerful energy. So let's look at the rest of your tarot cards. Let's see. These are so pretty. Okay, so next we have the Empress. Oh, which I love, because the two of them together, this is very much like a balance of masculine, divine feminine energy. And so, you know, what that means is like a balance of like the taking initiative, you know, like the doing, and then the receiving, the being. So it's almost like, in some ways it feels like a before and after, where it's like, you know, if you've ever done any kind of it could be like healing work, like body work, somatic work, even like a workout, like a really tough workout. You know, you're doing the doing, you're doing the activity. And then afterwards, there's an integration period where like you need to rest, or you need to refuel your body, or you need to hydrate. Or like if you've ever done like any kind of, you know, ritual or ceremony, or even body work, you know, you need to give yourself some time to integrate the things that you learn. Drink some water, take a bath, you know, understand that energetically you're going to be releasing things. And so I feel like this is just a really beautiful combination of energies, you know, because it's the doing and the taking action, and then it's the integration and the being and the receiving of what comes from that action and that healing. Because if we're only ever doing, if we're always like going, it's kind of like if you ran 10 miles every day, eventually like you're going to get an overuse injury, because your joints and your muscles and your tendons aren't meant to do that every day, especially if you start too quickly. And so that integration is important. Like receiving that rest is important. Receiving whatever downloads and messages and information is really important. And I feel like it's a beautiful energy that you're coming into, being able to operate in both, like receiving that you're allowed to be both is what is coming through. So I feel like that's really beautiful, magical. Next we have Three of Swords. And so this, you know, this is a hard card. Three of Swords is a card of like disappointment. But I feel like, and I just saw 1111 on the timer. I feel like for you, part of your magic is your ability to recover and your ability to remain almost like graceful, you know, because we have this swan, and obviously it's injured, but it's not flapping around. It's not panicking. It's kind of, you know, it's kind of just being with the situation that it's in, where it's injured, and it's almost like this trusting energy that someone is going to come along and help me. Something's going to happen, you know, that like this will get removed, and that, you know, I'll be able to go back to my pond and I'll be able to be with the other swans, and like I can start to heal and recover. And so I feel like one of the magical things about you is that you have a very forgiving heart. And I wouldn't be surprised if people take your kindness as weakness, but I feel like with this Emperor energy, like you definitely let people know, like, don't get it twisted. Like, just because I forgave doesn't mean that I forgot, but also like I can forgive you and not have you in my life. Like, the forgiveness is for me to heal. Like, if I don't forgive you, then I'm walking around with this sword, you know, through my heart forever, and I can't live like that. I can't survive like that. So if it's a choice between holding on to my unforgiveness and dying, I'm going to do the healing and the forgiving, but me forgiving the things that happen doesn't mean that you're welcome back into my space. You know, like, they're very healthy boundaries. And I think like another magical thing about you is that each time you suffer like an injury, especially an emotional injury, like, you learn more and more that it wasn't about you. Like, you learn more and more that like the people that have hurt you, even if they did it intentionally, even if they were malicious, like, you learn more and more that like that is a reflection of who they are, and it wasn't an attack on you. It wasn't something that like happened because you deserved it. Like, you understand that it's almost like the people that hurt you are taking out the feelings they have against themselves on you. And they do this to other people. They will do it to other people. Like, it's almost like you happen to be a placeholder that they take this out on. It kind of makes me think of like the analogy of how, like, you know, somebody has a bad day at work and they come home and like yell at their family. You know, it's like their family didn't do anything. Like, your family doesn't work with you. You're just yelling because these are people that you're allowed to yell at. These are people that won't leave. Like, these are people that you think will just take it because they love you. You know, but really the problem is that person that's doing the yelling. Because when we love people, we don't take out on them things that they didn't do. But also, like, it's a lack of emotional maturity. It's a lack of, you know, ability to identify the emotions that they're having. And so I feel like that's kind of the same line of thinking for like the lessons that you learn. Like, each time someone hurts you, it's like, oh, I can see your wound, and I see how your wound in this area, or I see how this wound from whatever is showing up here. And this has nothing to do with me. I just happened to be in the way I just happened to be close to you when the wound got quick triggered, and like your hand flung out and it hit me because I happened to be standing next to you. That, you know, like, you have learned that like you didn't do anything wrong. And I feel like this equates to your ability to almost see people in a different way, that like you're able to see people's wounds even when they don't show them to you. So I don't know if that's like, it might be a little bit of clairvoyance. Like, you might know that you're a little bit clairvoyant or psychic. You might know that you're a seer. But I feel like it doesn't happen with everybody, but there are certain people that you interact with, and like you can see the wounded part of them, right? Like, maybe you're talking to them and they're a full grown adult, you know, but there's things that come up energetically, and it's like you see their 5-year-old self, or you see their 17-year-old self, or you might even see like, you know, their 32-year-old self. But it's like you're not seeing those things because you need to fix them. Like, it's not your job to fix or heal people. It's each of our responsibilities to heal our own wounds, to look at our own wounds, and to seek help for healing if we need it. It's not a healer's job to find the wounded and like heal them. You know, just like when you think of hospitals, like you have to go to the hospital to like get assistance. There's not like a random EMT wandering around the streets asking people like, did you sprain your ankle? Like, do you have a headache? Like, are you dehydrated? Like, it doesn't work like that, right? So the injured person, the wounded person has to seek out medical assistance because they have to share what's wrong with them. And I feel like, not to say that there's things wrong with people, but, you know what I mean? Like if we have a temper, or if we have issues with boundaries, or if we don't like being vulnerable, like it's our responsibility to identify that, you know, and share that with people that we come into connection with, but a lot of people don't. But you're able to see these things in some people, and it's not because you need to do anything. It's almost just like the universe is like, hey, here's some information. Here you go. Here's information. And like you get to choose what you want to do with it. And then there are people that you're going to see that part of them. And it's like, no, thank you. Like I've already dealt with someone like that and I don't want to deal with that, you know. Or there's people that like you'll see that inner wounded part of them, you know, and it's almost like they sense it and they feel safe opening up to you. And it's like, oh, okay, so you work in energy like I do. And like, okay, you're able to identify that there's something that you want to work through, but you're still kind of trying to figure it out. And maybe you're inquisitive, or you just want some support, or you want someone to listen, and I can share what I've learned because I have a similar wound. So it's almost like it's just data that the universe wants you to have, and you have the free will to choose whether you want to engage with those people or not. So yeah, very, very interesting. Like that's like because it's not just one gift, right? It's like, or it's not just one thing that makes you magical. Excuse me. It's almost like a facet of you, like a part of you that has evolved. And next we have the Death card. I got this. Sorry, I was trying to look at it. Let me zoom it in up close. We've got, it looks like a phoenix, but it's kind of like, whoops, where's my finger? It's like a woman in the front of the phoenix. So it's almost like a woman that's turning into a phoenix. And we have this, what's it called? There's a term for this and I can't remember what it is. Like it's associated with sacred geometry, but it has a name. And my brain doesn't know what it is, so I apologize. If you know, or you know what I'm talking about, like feel free to leave it in the comments for everybody else. But this Death card, it's a card of transformation and rebirth, you know, and like that's really what the phoenix symbolizes, right? The phoenix gets burnt, you know, and then rises again from the ashes. And so what that equates to in terms of like your magic is that you have this like perseverance about you. You have this fortitude about you that like, there are times that, you know, there are times you get knocked down. There are times that you don't want to get up. And then you end up getting back up. And I think as you have gotten up like again and again and again, like you have either started coming into this knowingness about yourself, or you will soon be coming into it, that like when hard things happen, you know, there's a part of you that is like, I don't want to do this again. And then there's this soul part of you that's like, buddy, you know, we're going to get back up. You know what I mean? Like, there's your mind is like, I don't like this. Like, can we just stop doing this? You know, and your soul is like, it's fine. We'll take a breather. Like we'll take a nap. We'll be fine tomorrow. And it's almost like your recovery period from hard things. It's become faster and faster, where it's almost like with each, you know, difficult disappointment, with each ending, like you essentially become stronger. You learn what you need to heal, you learn what you need to process, you have learned how to care for yourself. And it's like, okay, something happened and now we know the process for what we need for self-care. And it's not necessarily like a step-by-step thing, but it, you know, it's like, okay, we need some time alone, our body needs rest, like it almost feels like checking in, because there's certain things that happen where, you know, you might be like, I don't want to talk to anybody. So I just need 2 days of solitude and I'll be fine. And then there's other times where it's like, I got to talk this through with somebody because I feel like I'm missing something and I'm too close to it and I need to talk with someone to kind of see what I'm missing. But there's a very, like, you're very tuned into what it is that you need. And so, like, when those hard things happen, it's like you kind of just shift into this self-care mode, you know, versus the way that you used to be a long time ago, where you would get hurt or something would end, and it was really painful, and you kind of like fell in a hole and like almost got stuck in it, and like needing someone to come and rescue you out of it. And like, as you've grown, like spiritually, emotionally, like as you've matured, really energetically too, like you've just gotten better, faster, more efficient at recovery, because you've, like, with each of these disappointments, with each of these endings, you've learned yourself more. You've gotten to know yourself much more deeply. And so that's why you don't have to like think anymore about like, what do I need? Like, if I was me, what would I need? Or if I was taking care of a group number one, what are the instructions for how to take care of them? Like, it's just become, it's just innate to you how to care for yourself through whatever happens, but especially like difficult times. So I feel like that's a really beautiful, magical thing as well. And then last, we have this Ace of Wands. And so these cute little foxes, look at these little pesky little babies. You know, this bright sun up here. Aces are new beginnings, and wands are about action. They're associated with like fire signs. So another magical thing about you is that like you have a lot of initiative, you have a lot of drive, you have a lot of this sounds weird, but the thing they come up with like was like survival instinct. Like your ability to keep pushing forward, it doesn't always make sense. Like, a lot of people that have gotten to know you, that have seen, especially people that know you for a long time, or people that meet you, you know, and learn about these things, like, they don't understand why you sounds terrible. Like, they don't understand why you like don't give up. And it's not like, oh, group number one's so foolish because they keep trying the same thing. That's not how they feel. Like, I think a lot of people see you and it's like, if that happened to me, I would just shut down and I'd be a jerk. I'd be a hermit and I'd go live in the woods and I wouldn't interact with people. But that's not you, you know, like you. It's almost like there's a compulsion about your drive. Like, you don't think about, oh, I need to do the thing, or I have to motivate myself, or it's time to start something new. It's like it's almost like this magnetic pull that like if there's if there's a magnet in front of you, like the universe has the other piece. And so it's like you're always getting pulled forward and like, in like inspired, influence to come forward. You know, like when we look at these little foxes, like they're trying to get to the top, but they're not fighting, right? Like this one is on the bottom, this one's kind of climbing, but it looks like he's standing on his back, but they're all trying to get towards this light. They're all trying to move, you know, upward and forward. And even this little tribal looking sun here, like you're like a moth to the flame. Like you don't know any other way but to keep moving forward. And so the fact that it doesn't make sense to other people kind of doesn't make sense to you, because like they see it as like you're always choosing to go to the light, and you're like, you know, it's like if moths could talk and you're like, hey, why are you always going for that light bulb? Like, they wouldn't be like, well, it started when I was 7, you know, they would be like, what? Like, you don't do that? Like, you're not just like sucked into it where you just want to bash your face into the light bulb repeatedly? That didn't happen to you? Oh, okay. Well, that's how I am. That's how you are, except for you're not bashing your face in anything. Like, you're it's like your soul or your light body or your energetic body, whatever it is, it's just pulled towards the light. And you don't see it that way. You don't know that that's what it is. Like, you just are following whatever kind of intuitive nudges or like intuitive guidance or whatever signs you're being given. Like, it's just something that I feel like maybe has always been innate for you, or like has really just become innate for you, and like you just go follow it. Kind of like when you're hungry, you know what I mean? It's like when your body feels hungry, it's not like, well, guys, do you think I should eat because I'm feeling hungry? No, you just go eat, because that's your body's telling you, like, hey, I need food. So that, like, it's almost like the universe or the light is giving you messages, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm coming. You know, like it's calling your name, or it's sending like a little beacon to you. So I feel like, you know, that's another magical thing about you, is that you know, you are really in tune with like God's source spirit, and you're very comfortable with surrender. Like, you're very comfortable with surrender. There's a lot of trust, you know, that you have for the universe, in the universe, like very much like a partnering, like besties in a way, you know, like when you have that bestie and they're like, hey, let's go do this, you know, it's like you don't really question it, because it's like you trust them, you know that they care about you, and they're not ever going to put you in a position to do things that like are dangerous or bad for you or something like that. And so it's like, oh, okay, cool, let's go do a thing, you know, like why wouldn't we go do that? So yeah, these have been the tarot messages about what makes you magical. So now I'm going to share these oracle cards with you. So the first one is a card for the deck is Ask Your Guides. Oh, bounty. Beautiful. Okay, so we've got the number 51. You know, 5 plus 1 in numerology is 6. 6 is the number of like human love, like love in the 3D, like physical love, and like the love that we only get to experience when we are in human form. With this bounty, it's definitely a card of abundance. You know, the green is really, it gives me very much like the Empress energy, you know, all these beautiful flowers, the sun rays coming out from behind her. These runner guides, like they're really quick moving guides. So it almost feels like if you need something, you have these runner guides that are really close to you, that like if you need, it's almost like they're like their own little tiny, like in my mind they look like rocket ships, but they also look like little motorcycles, that if you need something, like you can call on your runner guides, and they're there super quick, and like they will help you super quick. Like that's just kind of what they do, very fast moving. Let me see if I can move these up so you can see that. Okay, next we have a Starseed Oracle, and this is baby steps. So the message is action, follow your intuition before it makes sense. Yeah, and I feel like you're already doing that, like with this Ace of Wands, like that moth to the flame, like being pulled. I feel like that's just very much like the energy that you are in. But it might be a message that like something's coming. Because we've got this person that's kind of on the precipice of this threshold, and it almost feels like this is kind of feels very like Shakespearean foreshadowing to me. Like that's the energy I'm getting, like not from the imagery, it's like the energy I feel in the card, where it's like it's kind of like a foreboding, but not something negative, you know. It's gosh, I don't really know how to describe it, because I've only had it happen to me like intuitively, like where like I know something's going to happen, I just don't know how it's going to play out, or I don't know what it's going to look like, but it's like that feeling, you know, like where I don't know how to describe it, where it's like you feel like, okay, this is a turning point. I don't know I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I feel like it's very close. And so I feel like this picture really depicts that beautifully, because this kind of iridescent whatever this is, like it almost makes it look like a portal. And like getting close to this, like you don't really know what it is, but it's a big deal. Like you can tell it's a big deal that this is looking the way it is, and that like there's something significant on the other side. And so I feel like if there's something that comes up for you that's like unexpected, I feel like the guidance is definitely like to follow your intuition, even if it doesn't make sense, but to move slowly, right? Baby steps are just, kind of cautious, right? Like babies, when they're taking like they're taking their steps, like their muscles aren't fully developed for walking. Like they want to go faster than their body will allow them to go, or then their balance will allow them to go. So it's like the encouragement is like, okay, just take your time. Like you have your whole life to take big steps, but these first ones, like let's just make sure that you get the foundation right. Let's make sure that you build up these little baby muscles so that you can, balance yourself and hold yourself up. But yeah, that's what it feels like to me. Like something really significant is coming for you, and that your intuition is going to guide you. You will know what to do, but also just, it doesn't have to happen quickly. It can be small and incremental, and you're still moving forward. So I feel like take that for what it's worth. Next, we have an inner child oracle card. 31. Seek guidance in this. It is a time for a different perspective. Okay. Interesting. Sorry, I'm just looking at the card. So I got this guy, this butterfly. He's having a little smoke. He's got this waterfall in the background. I don't know if these two are connected, but it feels like you're coming into like a time of peace and like a time of surrender. And if you're not used to living this way, like I feel like that's what the seek guidance is about, that you're moving into something different energetically. And if you're feeling pulled to go back to the old way that like that's you're being encouraged to seek guidance around that. And I feel like this kind of coincides with like this Empress energy, this nature energy, this surrender receiving energy. And then we have a Night Fairy card. Aww. And this card is the Fae of Joy. And so like the cards in this deck that are kind of monochromatic, like these are, they're really powerful, significant energies, because this isn't, not to say that like there's like that one type of fae is more important than the other, but I feel like this is like this fae is like ushering in this joy. Like it's almost like bringing in a new season of life. That there's some of the Night Fairy cards, like there's a discernment fairy, which is kind of like, okay, in this situation, like this card, like seek guidance in this. I feel like with this Fae of Joy, this is a season of joy, like you're at this turning point. It might have to do with this also, but we've got this little cutie patootie. Look at this little little face sitting on the back of this turtle, just so cute. It's like so mischievous and pesky. I love it. With the little, finger over the lips, like, shh, don't tell him that I'm sitting on his back. Like he knows, but it's like, it's just joyful and playful and adorable. But it also feels like, this time of joy that you're coming into, like this is going to be, it's a slow unfolding, but it's also going to last for quite a while. And I say that because, tortoises, turtles, they move really slow, but tortoises live a very long time. So I feel like this is a long season for you. And I feel like I can hear some sighs of relief. I can hear some like exclamations of joy. People are like, oh, finally, it's been so hard. So I am glad that this Fae of Joy came to give us good news in this reading, to say not only are you magical, maybe you're a little mischief, you're a little mischief motivated, maybe a little pesky. I'm here for it. I enjoy it. I think it's fun to be a little mischievous. Not too much, we're all too cute for jail, but you know what I'm saying. So this little Fae of Joy. And then last we have a Rainbow Brain Skull card. And the message is, for me, if I can't make it fun, I'm just not going to be able to do it exactly. So I feel like this is kind of really connected to this Fae of Joy season that you're coming into, you know, that maybe this is the different perspective that you're coming in through. Like when you walk through this threshold, that there's more joy and there's more fun, and that joy and fun become a priority for you. I think, you know, in the world that we live in, it's like life is hard. Everything can't be fun. Like there's all these like things that we've been told that I kind of feel like are like just a crock of bullshit. Like why does your life have to be like miserable and hard because other people are unhappy? Right? Like you get to choose to be happy. You get to choose to follow the joy in your life, even if you have to work a job that is not your favorite, even if, you know, you're not living your like perfect life yet, even if you're not feeling well, even if you're having a bad day. Like we can always choose what we want for the future, even if it's not where we are right now. Right? And so for a lot of us, like joy and fun come from really kind of small things, right? Like I bought these on Etsy, and they're like pink aura quartz. I mean, obviously they don't come out of the ground like this, but they're just fun. I just like them. They bring me joy. Do they have special metaphysical properties? I don't know. Are they coated in some kind of chemical? Sure. Does that make them any less powerful when it comes to like what brings me joy? No. Like I'm sure people, you know, I'm sure there's people that are like super into crystals that are like, these are worthless now. Like you can't use these for healing. Well, maybe I can't use these to heal other people, but they're healing my inner child because they bring me joy and they're pretty. And little Kathy likes, you know, sparkly pink things. And here we are. So like we get to choose. I say all that to say that like we get to choose what we cultivate in our lives to increase our joy, to increase our fun, because, you know, like life is finite. Like we are only here as long as we are here, and there's a limited time to it, right? Whether that limit is 103 years or less than that, you know, we all only get the amount of time that we get, you know. And yes, it's hard to be a human being, but there's also so many amazing things that we get to experience in this vessel, right? Like chocolate cake. Like I like feeling like being in the ocean, a cool breeze, you know, like going for a walk and like really feeling the strength in our own body, like driving in a car, right? Like bungee jumping. There's so many things that you have to have a physical body to experience, you know. And so I feel like you're coming into this time when it's like, I'm just going to try to enjoy things. I'm going to make sure that I enjoy what I'm doing, who I'm with, what I'm spending my money on. And I feel like that's a really beautiful energy to come into. And that in and of itself, being able to choose joy and happiness, like that's really magical, you know, because I think when we think about magic is kind of this thing that it's not tangible. It's kind of rare, which makes it special. But you know, magic is not rare. Magic is all around us. It's just that not everybody chooses to believe in it or see it. So like when there's evidence of it, it's like, ooh, wow. Like it's like, where did that come from? How did that happen? And it's like, it's always here. You just don't have your eyes open. And so I feel like the fact that you are coming into this time when you're really embracing joy and you're really leaning into like finding more magic in life, I feel like that in itself is magical and beautiful. And I hope you feel like I have fully gassed you up, because you deserve it. Because you are magical. You're an amazing, beautiful human being that is moving into a really fun time in your life. And I hope that anytime you see a tortoise or a turtle in real life, that you can imagine a little Fae of Joy riding on the back of it, and then it makes you giggle and it makes your heart happy. So yeah, group number one, I just want to say thank you so much for letting me read your cards. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. If you have already subscribed, thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you for coming back and hanging out with me. If you haven't subscribed yet, if you like this video, I'd love it if you would like and subscribe. I'd also love if you leave any comments, because I feel like that's this really nice way that I get to connect with you guys, like through your comments. And they're just like such beautiful things that people share that it makes my heart happy that people feel like this is a safe space where they can share like some of the really kind of spiritual things that sometimes the world thinks is weird, that like we don't think is weird. Like this is part of our normal, but it's not part of everybody's normal, but that doesn't make it bad. So I just love when you guys share comments. So yes, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for letting me read your cards. And yeah, I hope that you go out in the world and you just share a little bit of your magic with whoever you come across. And I will see you later. Bye. Hello, group number two. So if you chose this amethyst and the Lover's card, this is your reading. So I have chosen 4 tarot cards and then about 5 oracle cards. So we will go through the oracle cards at the end, and we'll look at the tarot cards first. So first of all, we have this Lover's card, which is... I mean, who doesn't like the Lover's card? It's a beautiful card. We've got 2 people that are facing each other. It's very much this energy of mirroring, right? Like they're coming together in a union. Like the common thing between them, the thing that's pulling them together is this love, is this heart, but also seeing that they're mirroring each other. You know, that when we get to come into connection with people and it's a really enjoyable, beautiful experience, like the thing to remember is that experience is mirroring back your energy to you. You know, that like you were part of this lovely interaction because you have a beautiful, lovely energy that you were sharing, just like that other person has a beautiful, loving energy. So I feel like one of the magical things about you is that you are learning that, like, you're learning to see the beauty in who you are when it's reflected back to you through those really positive interactions with people. And like some of you might be the kind of people that like you're not comfortable taking a compliment, or humility is something that was really kind of ingrained ingrained in you as an important value. You know, like to always be humble, and when people compliment you, to compliment back or kind of divert the credit to the other person. And I feel like you're coming into this time when you're starting to see that, like, oh, I contributed to this beautiful connection too, so there must be some part of me that's beautiful, and there is. And so I feel like one of the magical things about you now is that you're finally opening your eyes to receive, to see the beauty about you, the magic about you, like the loveliness about you. And I feel like that's a really big piece of magic. I feel like that's healing magic, that's self-healing magic. Like when we are able to let our guard down and we allow our heart to open to, like, not just maybe getting hurt again, but also like the really beautiful positive things that can come in. Because sometimes, that humility of like, oh no, like, it's not me, it was you, you did all the hard work, or whatever that looks like. Sometimes that humility is like a defense mechanism where it's like, I'm not comfortable receiving, so I'm going to push that away because I don't think that I deserve it, because I have a lot of wounding around not being good enough. And so it feels like you being able to receive the beauty about you that is being reflected back is just evidence of how much healing you've done. I think, and I don't think you realized it. I think it's going to start to catch you off guard. Because I feel like for lots of us, like the healing, it used to be really painful, right? It's almost like a lot of the emotional wounds that many of us had were like these old infected wounds that had scar tissue around them. And it was like to to begin the healing process, it was going to be painful to get in there and take all that stuff out, right? Almost like a bone that wasn't set the right way and it needs to be rebroken or it needs to be corrected with surgery. It's like, oh gosh, like, okay, I already dealt with like the healing from this broken bone, but now I have to go in and have surgery to have it corrected. And I kind of have to go through the whole process again. Like, I feel like that's how healing had been for a long time for a lot of us. And I feel like, it's not like that anymore, that there's some significant shifts that you've been through. Like, there's some significant things that you've worked on. I think there's been a lot of stuff that you've worked through in your sleep. Like with this dark background in here, like it's, I don't, there's not like a logical way to explain it. And I feel like that's kind of how your brain sees it. It's like, well, yeah, but we didn't go to therapy. We didn't do journaling. We didn't do all these things, these tangible things that we were told early in our spiritual journey that this is how healing happens. Like, we didn't do those things, but we, like, you're healed because you're acting differently in a really positive way. And like that itself, like your ability to receive the beauty of you being reflected back to you, that's evidence of your healing. So it's kind of like, it doesn't really matter how it happened. You just know it happened, right? It's like if you got a cold and then you took a nap and you woke up and like all your symptoms are gone. It's like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, a nap doesn't cure a cold, but I mean, it did this time because like I feel way better, So it's like you can fight the reality of not being sick, but like, why would you? Because like the whole thing was wanting to feel better, and now you feel better. So like, go about your day. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so let's look at the rest of your tarot cards. Okay. So we have the 8 of Cups. And so this is, I feel like she's a mermaid, even though she's not. She doesn't have a tail. She's got her legs, but the 8 of Cups is about leaving things behind, choosing to move on, because that is in our highest, best good. And so, sometimes we can have that longing for what we wanted that didn't work out. But the fact is that, like, we always have a choice, right? Like, we can stay stuck in longing. I feel like kind of like limerence, like a lot of people have been talking about like limerence, like on TikTok, where it's essentially like having if it sounds like having a crush on steroids, where it's like all you can think about is this other person and you kind of can't move on from that, but there's nothing there, right? It's almost like being stuck in the what ifs, or stuck in the could have beens, or like really just stuck in the fantasy of things. And I feel like a lot of people live that way. Like, we have movies made about that, right? Like, we have movies made about characters that just like pine for each other for years and years and years, and like they never end up together, and then they like die sad and alone, which is like, why do we like that? Human beings are so weird. We are weird. And so you can be stuck in that energy and that pining and in that like fantasy, or you can do it, you can move forward like you can move forward while feeling those things, because like I feel like that's your magic. Like you know the difference between fantasy and reality, and even though it hurts to walk away from the fantasy, like that it's not real. And so like one of the magical things about you is that you're strong enough to move on from the things that your heart knows are not for you, that are not going to happen, but the things that your head is like, but it could, but what if, but it could, we just wait. Like, what if 10 minutes from now they come back and they say they want to be with us? Like, well, what if we miss our chance? Like you trust your heart and your heart's wisdom enough to move on, because like, I feel like your heart, the wisdom of your heart is that it always leads you in the direction for what is for your best, highest good. It's almost like your heart and your soul have like a partnership, like they're coaches. you have like two coaches in this lifetime, your heart and your soul, and like, you know, maybe like one's like offense and one's defense, but they need to work together for the whole strategy of the game, you know, to make sense, right? Because you can't play any sport and just only play defense, because then you don't ever score any points. And if you don't score points, then you can't win. But you also can't only play offense, because you have to defend against the other team trying to score the points. And I apologize if you are not a sports fan and none of this makes sense. But essentially, bring it back to the woo. You know, in this incarnation, your heart and your soul agreed that, you know, they were going to vibrate together. They were going to operate excuse me, sorry. They were going to operate in tandem. And that like your soul always is going to move towards what is of your highest good. But in this, you know, in this vessel, like our heart isn't always on the same page, you know, in this physical form, because being human is about experiencing all kinds of things and emotions and like physical experiences. And, you know, a lot of us experience things differently, right? Like sometimes people are like, listen to your head, don't listen to your heart, listen to your heart, don't listen to your head. Like it's different for everyone, but for you, your heart and your soul are operating in tandem. Like they pinky swore that they were going to stay on the same page. They were going to, you know, they made a pinky promise that they were always going to move towards and encourage you to move towards what is for your best, highest good. And I feel like the magical thing about you is that, you know, as a human being, you could choose to follow your brain. You have free will. You know, you could choose to follow your anxious brain that's full of what ifs and like what could have beens, you know, but instead what you do is that you trust your heart, which means that you trust your soul. And even in the times that it's hard to move on, even in the times that you're sad that it didn't work out, like if your heart lets you know that like we gotta go, like we have to move on, then you're like, okay, all right, you know. And I just feel like that's a really beautiful, just like a really tender, beautiful thing about you, because a lot of times, you know, like we talk about like just do it scared. I feel like that's like a common phrase where people are like, oh, I can't do this thing. And it's like, do it scared. But I feel like a lot of times people get stuck in their ego, and that keeps them doing the things that are not for their highest good, but they can't see it, right? Because this physical form, it's almost like it overpowers that still small voice of wisdom. And so I feel like it's this really beautiful thing that you're so in tune with your heart, and that you're so trusting of your heart, and that you really like surrender to it, you know, that like even within you, you're, you know, there's times that you're like, I don't want to move on because I wanted this to work out, and I know it's not going to, and it sucks. And I can't change it. I can't do anything. Can I change it? I don't know. And like, you know, when your heart is like, we gotta go, bud, you know, then it's like, okay, you know, like you just kind of resign to trusting your heart's wisdom. And I feel like that's just such a beautiful, magical thing. And what I heard is like, if more people could do that, more people would enjoy their lives, because I think in this human form we can get stuck in the things that are bad for us, that are painful for us, and we normalize that pain, and we just kind of get desensitized to it, and that's not you. Yeah, and I'm really glad, because there's so many things that are waiting for you, you know, to not stay stuck in this. So the next magical thing about you is this King of Coins. Look at this little baby. He's so grumpy. Maybe he's not grumpy. Maybe he's serious. Maybe he's got some important rabbit business that he needs to do. I don't know why this card cracks me up. I think because he looks so grumpy. Like he's got this little wrinkle here. It's Cracks me up. So I feel like one of the magical things about you is that you are like you're always adorable. Like even when you're upset or like even when you're mad, like people are just like, oh, look at group number 2. They are the cutest. Oh, they're upset, but it's so cute. It's so cute. And I hope nobody talks to you like that, because I'm sure that's it's a little bit demeaning, probably infuriating, but you you're just adorable. Like you're just adorable. Like people find you really adorable, and like even like they respect you. Like they see you as credible. Like you're responsible, you're credible, like you're secure in who you are, like you have a very strong sense of self, like but there's just something about you that's just really, really adorable that people just, yeah, I feel like it's not something they tell you, because it's almost like, I feel like it's something that people talk about, like, I don't want to say behind your back because that makes it sound malicious, but like, it's almost the same way that people talk about, gosh, like if you ever see kids doing something really cute and like they're not your kids and you don't know the parents, but you're like with someone and you're like, oh my gosh, look at these little cutie pies, like what are they doing? Like, they're adorable. Like I got tattooed last week, and this lady had brought her kids in, when she was getting tattooed, and they were little twin boys, and they had to be like, I don't know, maybe like 4, and they had their little iPads and their Spider-Man headphones. And then at the end of the tattoo, when mom was done, like the lady that was tattooing them, she had these temporary tattoos that she gave them, and it was like it was so cute to watch them like sticking their little arms out to like get their tattoos, and like the lady was letting them pick them out, and they're like, oh, do you have this one and that one, and so one of them he had like 2, and it was so adorable. And I feel like that's how people like talk about you, that they're like, oh my gosh, like group number 2 is just the cutest. Like I wouldn't mess with them, but like they're just like, they're so funny, and like I feel like people are really endeared to you. Like there's kind of like this I don't want to say it's not weird, well, the way it came to my mind was like there's this like weird type of adoration for you, but it's weird because the places that it happens are like work, and it's like we don't really think like, oh, I adore my coworker, and people wouldn't say that. It's like it's a feeling inside of them where they just are, where they just like you're the bee's knees to the people that that have gotten to know you, that like have like had the experience of working with you or connecting with you, or like just like people that you have kind of let see who you are. Not to say that you're not an authentic person, but I think we can't be 100% authentic excuse me, everywhere, but I feel like there are people that you are authentic with and they just are endeared to you. Like they just think that you are adorable, like very much the way that, like, I don't know how we feel about baby animals, right? Where we're like, oh my gosh, that's the cutest porcupine, I'm not gonna pick it up. Or like, that's the cutest baby skunk, like I want to get close but I don't want to get sprayed. It's almost it almost feels like that, where it's just like, oh, like group number 2 is the best, but also don't cross them. So yeah, there that's one of the magical things about you. And then we've got this 2 of coins. And this is a card of balance. We can see, this person, and she's kind of balancing these 2 coins in the air, like almost kind of juggling them in a way. And then there's these 2 ships in the background on the water. The sun is behind her. And so it just gives this kind of image of balance, like the 2 coins, the 2 ships, the, person in the middle, of the sun. And so one of the magical things about you is that you are very good at creating and maintaining balance in situations. So you might be someone that when things get tense, you bring a little humor to the conversation, or, you know, you're someone that you can tell when people are really exhausted, and you encourage them to take some rest, right? So you might be the kind of supervisor or boss or friend that says like, hey, you know, it's been a really rough week, so like I think we'll be done for the day at, you know, 10 a.m. on Friday. So, you know, there's nothing pressing. Like, we went through like a really big push. We got everything done. And I think that everybody more than deserves and more than needs like some rest, you know. Or as a friend, you know, you might be like, hey, I would love to hang out with you, but I know that you had a really horrendous week at work, and that you would feel much better if you just got to sleep in, you know, and relax all weekend, instead of like meeting me really early to go for a hike. We can always go for a hike. That mountain's not going anywhere. We don't know what your work week is going to look like next week. So as your friend, I need you to stay your ass home. And I say that with the most love. So I feel like that's the way that it's a very nurturing type of balance that you bring. And you also offer that to yourself, you know, that you very much, you don't have any problems sharing with people like, hey, I know we had plans for this, but I am exhausted, or I feel like I'm getting a cold and I don't want to give it to you, but also I can't really afford to have a cold right now. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to reschedule with you, or, you know, we're going to have to do a rain check or something. And just being able to offer that care for yourself, you know, unapologetically taking care of yourself, like encouraging others to unapologetically care for themselves, as well as being like really direct and honest, and transparent, which I feel like is like, those are all like really beautiful, like magical gifts in a day and age when, you know, we're encouraged not to care for ourselves. And also in a time when a lot of humans aren't the best at communicating, like in a direct way. Yeah. And then we've got this Queen of Wands in reverse. So I'm going to flip her upright. With this Queen of Wands, like, she's able to make something out of nothing. Like, that's kind of the magic of her. And this is really like a not so traditional Queen of Wands, because typically the Queen of Wands has a black cat, but she's got this lion here, and he's kind of hugging her. And so I feel like Queen of Wands sometimes can be very like no nonsense, like very, very direct. But like the way it feels in the reverse, you know, is that like you've come through something, or you've learned how to temper that kind of more fiery part of you, like the more a little bit kind of brash part of you. It's almost like you have done a lot of healing around like a toxic masculine, and you're coming into this time when like you really are leaning more into this feminine energy, like with these sunflowers. They're heliotropic, so like they follow the sun. Like, have you ever seen like time lapse videos of like sunflowers? Like their little sunflower faces follow the sun, and so it's just kind of them surrendering to their nature, right? Because they don't have brains because they're flowers, so they're not like, where's the sun? We got to go that way. It's a chemical reaction of them kind of just going with the flow and following wherever the sun goes. And so I feel like you know, like one of the magical things about you that's happened pretty recently, I would say like in the last couple of years recently, is that, you know, you are really coming into this time of being able to surrender and trust life in general. You know, like we talked about, your heart and your soul have this kind of tandem motion that they work in, like this agreement that they had when they, you know, when you incarnated here. But I feel like there was a time that you were very much in your kind of toxic masculine, like having to be the boss, like being direct, maybe being a little bit too blunt with people. And like over the last few years, like that's shifted and changed. And I think part of it is that you saw it was happening, and like you didn't like that. And also just being open to moving into an energy of receptivity. Like, you know, a lot of times people have a hard time being in feminine energy because there's no action to it. You know, it's like, how do you receive? And it's like, well, you just have to open your hand. And it's like, right, but my hand's open and nothing's coming. And it's like, well, but that's how receiving works. Like, if you're asking for someone to put something in your hand, that's the doing. The receiving is just being open for it to happen whenever it happens. And I feel like a really perfect example of that is if you know anybody that's ever tried to get pregnant and like it just doesn't seem to be happening. Like, a woman becoming pregnant is like the ultimate act of receptivity and surrender, you know, because it's not like you can't talk to the sperm and be like, all right, guys, the egg you want is 2 doors down and on the left. So you can't miss it. There's a big sign. Just make sure that you go in there and do your thing, because, you know, we need a baby in about 11 months. So, you know, like, that's not how it works. It's like, okay, you go through the mechanics of it and then you just kind of wait. And sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't, but it's also something like you can't really force, right? Like, you can try to have like medical interventions and do things like that, but it's like there's no guarantee that you can make it happen, you know? And so I feel like that's really like the energy that you've moved into, is just kind of being okay with having your hand open and like, okay, universe, God, source, spirit, like whatever you want to hand me, like I'm cool with that. And if you need me to stand somewhere else with my hand open, or if you need me to open the other hand, you'll let me know. I'm just going to go with the flow. In the meantime, I'm going to go over here and be adorable. Okay, see you around. So I feel like that's a really beautiful, you know, like there's a lot of this receptivity energy that's happening, and it's just really, I'm just going to keep saying, I'm just going to call it beautiful. It's beautiful. Because I feel like that's where a lot of the magic happens, right? When we surrender and we let go and we stop trying to force things to happen the way that we want, especially when other people are involved, because you can't make other people do anything. Like, that's just like control. Like, that's the big joke. Like, control is an illusion. We can't control anything. Like, we are on a giant rock that's spinning in space. Like, it's just so weird to think about, but also like you can't wrap your brain around it. But yeah. Either way, we're here, and you're watching a pair of talking hands tell you about cards. So what's not weird nowadays? What's not weird? I don't know. Okay, let's look at your oracle cards. This first one is an Ask Your Guides card. Oh, creativity. And we've got the helper guides. So your helper guides are guides that want to help you with things, you know. So if you have been wanting to become more creative, you're being encouraged to get into a little bit more creativity. If you don't know what to create or how to be creative, or if you're creative, you are. But if you just don't know what that is for you, you can ask your helper guides, like, hey, can you guys send me some, I don't know, some kind of nudges or like signs on like what I should be creating, or like how to find fun things to create, or even if you don't need help with creativity, right? Your helper guides will help you with whatever you need. But you definitely are being encouraged to create some things, because your ability to create, your creativity is one of the magical things about you. So if you don't know that about yourself yet, I feel like that's going to be a really fun discovery for you to really see yourself as a creative person, and as a creator. Next, we have a Starseed Oracle card. And it says your life is a canvas, artist, manifestation, creative accountability. Okay, so the creative messages are coming up really strong. And even, I mean, like, you can create the life that you want. That's a big part of it, that you have the power to do that. But I'm feeling like there's something healing about the things that you will be creating, like whether that is traditional art, maybe it's like unconventional art. I feel like art takes like so many forms. You know, like music is art, and like drawing, painting, poetry is art, you know, like movies are art, everything is art. If there's some element of like beauty to it, or even some element of things being reflected back to us, even if they're not the most beautiful things, right? Even if it's like the aching of being human, or gosh, anything that taps us into some kind of feeling, I feel like that is art. Yeah, but you're being encouraged to embrace your own creativity. This creative accountability, I feel like this is interesting, because accountability is very much around structure, and like creativity is very much around like surrender. But to me, like this creative accountability, it almost feels like ownership. And so like the things that you create, those are your creations. And this doesn't feel like it's necessarily like something tangible. Like what I'm getting from this is like copyright, trademark, like very like non-creative elements, but there are things that you will be creating that like there's a level of accountability to them in what it feels like is that source is saying like I have inspired you to create these things, and these things are yours, and do not allow other people to take them, change them, abuse them. Like there needs to be accountability measures in place for the things that you create, because those are connected to you and your magic. So I feel like this is like where the spiritual meets the 3D, right? That like if you paint something and someone tries to copy it, like that's your intellectual property. Like you created that, you own that. That came from your intelligence, from your hands, from your mind, from your sight, from your vision. And other people are not allowed to take that and take credit for it or profit from it. And so I think I feel like this might feel a little difficult to receive for some of you. Like for those of you that are like super, super spiritual, that like do not subscribe to the 3D, like there might be some resistance to this. And if there is, I would encourage you to just kind of ask yourself what the resistance is about. You know, and also like to talk to your guides, talk to spirit for more understanding around it. Because that's just the message that was coming through. So next we have an inner child oracle card, and it says, write a letter. Okay. Write a letter to your inner child. All right. So, and double rainbow. How cute. So I feel like that's really connected to this Lover's card, that like there's some things that your inner child wants to reflect back to you about who you are, now. Yeah, it almost like, I feel like your inner child wants to give you a thank you letter. And I don't know if you've done a lot of work, if you're connected to your inner child or not. So if you haven't established that connection with your inner child, writing a letter to them can be a really great way to kind of start like a pen pal relationship with your inner child, whatever age they are. It could be multiple ages. Like for me, I feel like my inner child comes through, like 5-year-old Kathy comes through a lot, 11-year-old Kathy comes through a lot, sometimes 27-year-old Kathy comes through. She's not little, you know, but like I had significant things kind of happen around those ages, and so like those versions of me will show up when they need support, or like something gets triggered, or we need to like work on and heal something. So there could be multiple versions of your inner self or your inner child that want to start to come in relationship with you. But I feel like they have just some really sweet things that they want to say to you, but it's almost like they can't, until you reach out to them for connection, they can't communicate back. I don't know why it's like that. It's like maybe like I don't know. It's almost like you're calling them from a payphone and they're waiting at their house, right? Like it's not like you both have cell phones. They can't call you. It's like they just have to wait for you to call from whatever payphone is nearby. So they just sit by their phone. So yeah, strong message that your inner child wants to connect with you. Next is a Night Fairy Oracle card. Ooh, we have the Huntress. Look how pretty she is. Oh, there's a little baby cat. Cute. Yeah, so I feel like this is very much this is just very much like your energy, right? That like I feel like if you were a fairy, this would be you. That you would be this strong, like capable, kind of adept, like I don't want to say hunter, because I feel like that they, like, that's not, even though it says the huntress, like that's not like this fairy isn't going hunting for like animals or things. Like there's not any destruction in this. Like the huntress fairy is like, she's going to hunt down like flowers, right? Like she's going to hunt down things that it almost feels more like the energy of like a collector, you know, that like this little fairy might might be a little bit of a pack rat, because she just likes to collect all the beautiful little things, right? And having like this little black cat, like just very astute, very aware, very intuitive. I feel like those are like more of these magical things about you, that like you can just be in a space, you know, and you can just kind of be floating around doing your thing, but like there's this part of you that's always keenly aware of what is going on and who's where. And like I feel like that's this really magical thing around your own awareness. It's not a hypervigilance, like it's not something that leaves you exhausted afterwards. Like you just like you are able to employ all of your senses in certain environments where it's needed, right? So it's like when you're at home, you know, you might not be super aware of the things that are happening around you, right? Like let's say you live with someone and like maybe you're not aware that they went upstairs, but that's your safe space. So it doesn't matter if you walk in another room and it's like, where are you? And they're like, I'm upstairs. It's like, okay. But it's like when you're out in the world, like your hearing becomes much more acute. Like you are able to like remember certain people and like where they are in relation to you. And like, excuse me, it's almost like in one part, it feels like a protective mechanism. I think that's where it came from, like how it started. But I feel like now it's, as you've evolved spiritually, it's just become part of your heightened senses, right? So you might be clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairaudient. Like you might have just some kind of clairs, like abilities to pick up things that other people don't pick up the things that are unseen. And so as those senses within you got heightened, like it changed your physiology in a way. It's almost like it changed your brain. Like when you opened up to like your clairsentience, your clairvoyance, clairaudience, whatever your clairs are, I think there's a couple other ones, but I can't remember what they are. But as you energetically and spiritually opened up to those gifts, what it did is it caused like biological changes in you, physiological changes in you, changes to like your brain and your brain chemistry. So like you're able to be much more aware of things than other people are, and you're much more aware now than you had ever been before. And so there might be times where you kind of compare things like, well, that's weird. Like I didn't always know things like this, or I didn't always hear things this way. And so that's what's happened. Like as your energetic body has evolved and grown, it's affected your physical body. And so parts of your physiology have like improved. So I realize that's weird, but congratulations. Okay, and then finally we have this rainbow brain skull card. And another creativity message. It says the more you create, the more the universe is. Okay, so I understand it now. With this creativity, like what I'm hearing is like new heaven and new earth. Light workers are needed in this time to assist in furthering the creation of the new earth. And I don't know how to equate that like in a blueprint plan. You know what I mean? It's not like, hey, they're sending emails to the light workers and like the project management team's going to give you your 7 tasks. Like it doesn't work that way. But for you, part of what your mission is as a light worker is to create something. And that like, as you create more, the more this new earth can come into existence. It's not all on you. You're not the only one. There's a lot of light workers that are all working on different things, but like source is going to let you know what like you're going to get inspired to create things. And I feel like that's where this accountability is coming from, because it feels like in this creation of like the new heaven and new earth, I feel like there are people that don't want there are people that are trying to sabotage the creation of the new earth. And the way that they can do that, in an example specific to you, is that, you know, these light workers are creating art and things that are showing the people in between, because there's people that have not yet woken up, but they're getting close. And I feel like the energies that want to keep everyone in the old timeline are aware of that. And so these in-between people, like the ones that haven't woken up all the way, like as you're creating your art, as light workers are doing their light work, what it's doing is shifting the balance, because there are people that are in the in-between that will see some of these things that you create, or that like other light workers are making or doing or creating, and it's going to shift their energy. Like it's almost like it's an activation, right? Like if you're familiar with like activation meditations, you know, where people can listen to things and it's like it kind of activates part of their energetic body, or it activates their subconscious, causes like a shift. And so essentially like what these people that want to hold on to the old way are going to want to do to your art is they're going to want to like essentially sabotage it, but they're using the old systems to sabotage it. So that looks like, for example, you make a piece of art and then they see how people respond to it, and then you don't get it copyrighted, or you don't identify that you're the artist, even you don't sign the painting, let's say. And so then they take it and they put their name on it, or they get it copyrighted, and then they sell it for money, but they alter it in a negative way. And so what it does is it demoralizes you, you know, because it's like, as a light worker, you're infusing your art with all of this like love and energy and like all these positive things. And then to have someone take it and really twist it, like it hurts your heart. And so I feel like that's where this creative accountability comes from. And so I'm feeling a little bit of fear. I'm feeling some apprehension from you around like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do? Do I have to get a lawyer? No. Spirit will guide you in what you need to do. And I feel like the helper guides, like they can bring people in. So if you're like, okay, I know I need to do this and I have no idea how to start. I don't know what to do. You can ask your helper guides. Like I'm happy to take on my creativity mission, but I need support because I don't understand any of this. Because you might not have come from a creative background. You might not have come from like a spiritual or an artistic background. I don't know that anybody, well, I mean, I'm sure people come from a spiritual background, but like I did not. So this, a lot of this has been an interesting learning curve for me. But I feel like I've always had God, source, spirit, like the more that I've trusted, like there's just been people that have come in like exactly the right time, sharing exactly what I needed. And like I knew, like even like having people tell me things that my logical brain, like my past self is like, that's bananas. Like that part of my old self brain, my 3D brain was like, that is crazy. Who says that to people? But my soul was like, yep, I know that is the truth. In the deepest part of myself, I know that is the truth about me. And thank you for reflecting that to me, or thank you for sharing that with me. So I feel like your helper guides, all you have to do is ask them, like, to bring in the right people, to steer you towards the right knowledge, to protect you, like whatever it is that you need. And even if you don't know, you can just say, okay, helper guides, like I'm ready to create, please help. Like they know what to do. You know what I mean? Like they're guides, like they went to guide school or however this works. Like they're, celestial beings. They have all the magic and they know what to do. So you don't have to, if this feels like a burden, you don't have to carry that all on yourself, because that's not, like, you are not the only light worker that is creating the new earth. You are part of a large group, and, we each have our own thing that we're doing. And and like we're supported and loved, and we are always being guided as long as we ask. So all you have to do is ask. And the more you create, the more the universe is. So group number 2, this has been your reading about all the ways that you are magical. So I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that it was fun. I hope it's not too upsetting that people people love you because you're adorable. This little guy is my favorite. I can't. I just want to say thank you so much for watching. Like, if you are a subscriber, thank you so much for coming back and hanging out with me. If you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you would like and subscribe if you have not yet. If you want to leave a comment, I would love to read your comment and respond to it. I feel like seeing comments from people and like being able to engage with my internet friends, like it makes my heart really happy. And I appreciate that you guys feel safe enough to share things, and that like I could create this like safe space for us to be just spiritual weirdos. Because 1, it's fun, and 2, it's kind of, you know, like a lot of my spiritual people don't physically live near me, so it's nice to have like that energetic connection. So yeah, I just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me read your cards. Thank you for watching. And I hope that you have a lovely day, and that you are able to see all the ways that you're magical, and that this has left your heart really full. And I will see you guys next time. Bye. Hello, group number 3. So if you chose this tourmalated quartz and this 8 of cups, this is your reading. So I pulled 4 tarot cards for you and 5 oracle cards. So we'll look at your tarot cards first. But I want to discuss this 8 of cups. So this card is also part of your magic. One of the really magical things about you, I feel like magical is not the right way to describe it. One of the really strong, powerful things about you is that you are willing to move forward and follow like your intuitive guidance, even when the whole path isn't visible to you. So a lot of people value, planning and kind of mapping out all the steps before they begin, because that planning gives them a sense of control, and that feeling of control gives them a sense of safety. And it's not that you don't value safety. It's not that you don't appreciate trying to have control or like creating a plan. I feel like just the way that you tune into things, like you have this understanding that like that's not how life works, right? That like you're not going to get exact, precise GPS instructions every time you step out the door and into the world, right? That you trust yourself enough and you know yourself well enough that like you'll figure it out, right? There's this kind of, I don't know if it's a knowing or if it's a trusting, like it's some kind of internal thing that I don't know how to put a word to, but whatever comes up, like, you know that you'll be fine. Like, you know that you'll figure it out because you always do. That you've been through a lot of things that don't happen to a lot of people. You've been through a lot of things that are not easy to navigate because they're not common, right? It's not like if you get a flat tire, and it's like, okay, well, the tire's flat, so I need to change it. There's things that you've been through that are just, you've led a very unique life. And it's not that other people haven't been through what you've been through. It's that the people around you have not been through what you've been through. Like, there's other people in the world that have experienced the things that you've experienced, but like the people that witness you have never come into contact with those people. I'm hearing that like a lot of people kind of see you as a unicorn in a way, like very distinct, very different, and maybe just your presence, like your essence, like the way that you show up is what makes you magical. Like the way that you operate, the way that you move in the world is part of your magic, because there's not one thing that's happened for people to be like, oh, group number 3 is a unicorn. It's just like the way that you show up every day, you know, like the people at work might see you this way, or like people that, you know, like, I don't know, like you go to a gym or like a grocery store or like someplace that you frequent where people kind of know you, but maybe they're not like part of your inner circle, but like, you know, there's a connection, right? Like your acquaintances, like you talk to them, and like just they kind of see the way that they see you is just like, wow, like I don't know anybody like group number 3. I've never met anybody like group number 3. You probably have had people say that too as well, you know, that I've never met anybody like you. So that, it's not even authenticity, individualism, like you just being you, the essence of you is magical. No big deal. Okay, so let's look at the rest of your tarot cards. Is everybody in here? Okay. Okay, so next up we have 8 of Swords, and we've got, you know, these 8 kind of crazy swords. Each sword has a handle on, or an eye on the handle, but we've also got these eyes here, and they're very kind of piercing and very direct. And so another element of your magic is that you are able to really see through things. You know, 8 of Swords is a card, or 8 of Swords is this energy of feeling trapped, feeling stuck. In the traditional 8 of Swords, like the person is surrounded by 8 swords, almost like they're kind of confined in a space and they have a blindfold on. So the energy of the card kind of speaks to needing to tune into like this inner knowing, you know, tuning into your senses to kind of, you can't see, so you have to listen to what's around you. But I feel like this card kind of takes it to another level where like one of your magical gifts is that you can read people. Like you're very, very perceptive. And I feel like these eyes, like they're just very piercing. They're staring directly ahead. Like each of these eyes on the swords, like there's no lids, so they're always open. And so I feel like you're just very perceptive, that like you can see the truth about people. And a lot of times, like, I feel like there's always these memes about like, you know, that how you feel when everybody else finds out that what you felt about someone is true, you know, like I feel like that's kind of you, where it's like you'll get a sense of someone, and like in the past you might have shared it, like I don't really trust that person, and you might still share it now, and people are like, oh no, they're great, like you just need to get to know them, group number 3, and like your intuition is like no way, nope, no thank you. And then something happens, like usually like weeks or months later, where people are like, wow, you really called that, and you're like, yep. And I feel like in the past, like you wanted to kind of save people from the pain of learning the hard way. And so you would try to share, you know, that, oh, you need to be cautious with this person, or I'm not getting a good feeling. And like people would never listen. And I think you've learned that like, it's not your job to convince people of the things that you're seeing. The people that see your magic and believe in your gifts, like they will go to you for things. So you probably have a group of people that are like, hey, well, what do you think of this person, group number 3? Or like, hey, group number 3, like how do you feel that meeting went? You know, like the people that recognize that you're very perceptive, and like trust and believe your gifts, like they reach out to you. And the people that don't, like, they just, you know, they don't care to know, they don't need to know. It's like you're available to share the information, but you're no longer pushing that on other people. But yeah, you're highly, highly perceptive. And then, whoops. Next, we have the Empress. So this is, I feel like there's this kind of divine feminine magic that you have, but it's not, it's like part of your, I don't know, like soul lineage. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, I feel like this has been your energy through lifetimes. Like you have reincarnated, your soul is, each incarnation that you've experienced, your soul has been in the position of some kind of like divine feminine. and there's been lots of like knowledge and experience and wisdom that you gather in each lifetime, and it just rolls over. It incorporates into your soul and it rolls over into the next incarnation. So as a soul, like you've been here a really, really long time. You've seen a lot of things. You've experienced a lot of things. You've always been in like a mother figure position. So like you may have been, you might be a mother now if you're not like if you don't have children now, like you are in some kind of position that is like a mothering role. So like a lunch lady, or somebody that's like a care provider, like there's just some, like you just are really innately nurturing. You might be that person like in your job where people come to you and maybe it's like, hey, group number 3, like such and such a spouse passed, and like would you mind getting a card, because we don't really know what to say or what to do, and you're really good at stuff like this, or they might kind of lean on you for things that have to do with like the more emotional side of stuff, right? That like we all see, hey, group number 3, we all see that somebody's having a really hard time because they lost a family member, but like we don't know how to like talk to them, or like how do we let them know that we're here to help without like calling them out on being sad, or like we don't know what to do. It's like your emotional intelligence is very, very high because of the generations of like divine feminine experience your soul has that you have brought forward. And so if you're not aware of like your past life incarnations, like if you're not aware of those experiences, what you are aware of in this 3D, this current lifetime, is that you have a knack for nurturing people, and you're not really sure like why you're good at it. You just are. But it's also one of those things, like it's not weird to you, because like how do you learn how to be nurturing to other human beings, right? Like, I mean, there's books and stuff on like emotional intelligence, but like, let's be honest, like you can't teach someone how to care about someone. You can teach someone how to act like they care, but you can't teach someone how to feel caring. Yeah, Ben agrees. And so what's up, buddy? You want to say hi to group number 3? No? Okay. Ben had something to say. I'm not really sure what it was. But I feel like you just have this like way of like nurturing and like connecting and understanding humans that like a lot of other people don't have. And I feel like that's, Ben agrees. And I feel like that's part of like the multiple incarnations that you've had. And then we've got this Wheel of Fortune card. And so we can see all these different elements here, like all these different parts of this wheel that have kind of broken out. But the Wheel of Fortune is typically about like, like a shift in things, like things changing. But I feel like for you, this card is really about like having an extreme amount of abundance in all areas of your life. That, you're someone that's able to bring in money when you need money. You're able to share money when people need it. You're able to really open your heart to receive all the forms of love that people want to give you. So it makes me think of like, the love languages, like the 5 love languages, and how like some people receive love in a different way than they give love. And like the people that only, let's say like some people, their love language is only words of affirmation. So if you try to spend quality time with them, they're not able to receive that love because that's not the love they prefer. Like for you, like you are able to tune into and feel and receive love in whatever form it comes in. And like, this is kind of weird. Like strangers are very loving to you, as well. And like, that's not weird to you. I think it's weird to other people, because like, almost like what I'm hearing in my mind is that like maybe somebody that you don't know does something that's like really caring, and like you're like, oh my gosh, like I just feel so loved, and somebody else is like, but like people that don't know you can't love you, you know, like and maybe they don't say that, but it's like their inner dialogue is like, that doesn't make sense, you know. And I think, you know, that like love is a vibration, like love is everywhere. Love is why we're here. Love is what keeps human beings going. Like love is where hope comes from. Like love is healing. And so you are very like tuned into that vibration of love, I think, because of all the divine feminine wisdom that you have gathered within like your soul essence. And you're just in tune with it, you know. So I'm trying to think of an analogy for how to explain it, but I feel like I don't need to, because you get it, right? Like you're able, you know, you've got that perception, like you're able to see love and feel love when it's present. Like it doesn't, you don't have, there's not like labels on it, right? You're not like, oh, you know, my child did this because they love me. You know, it's like, oh no, this feels like the vibration of love, and that's what it is. So I feel like that's really beautiful, like just having this abundance in all parts of your life, right? Like you have an abundance of like positive experiences, like you have an abundance of like giving and receiving money, like just and the way abundance feels, like the abundance energy that you experience, like the way it feels to me is just like a flow. And it kind of reminds me of I'm seeing like a fish tank, and like the water is like moving, but it's almost like the circulation, like I don't know a lot about fish tanks, but the system that cleans the water, right? Where like the filtration system where the water goes into some part and it gets cleaned and then it comes back in, but it's always flowing, it's always moving. Like I feel like that is what abundance is for you. Like whatever the energy is, however you label it, love, money, experiences, joy, connection, like everything is, you can have everything in abundance, you know. So, but like however people would categorize it, or you would categorize it, it's always flowing, right? That like you are always connecting with new people, just like you're receiving positive connections from people, just like you are reaching out for connection. Like you're always bringing in money, just like you're sending out money. So I feel like it's always like the energy is always moving through this filtration system. Like it doesn't stop, because that's what abundance is. Like that's what energy is. It's always in motion. Yeah. And then finally we have this little hermit card. And so another one of your gifts is the ability to really tune into your own wisdom, and almost the ability to tune out other people, and not like on an individual level. Like it's not like, oh, I'm not going to listen to them anymore. It's really your ability to tune into your own inner wisdom, like the still small voice inside of you. What you're tuning out is like societal norms or shoulds or mental chatter or any of the distraction junk stuff that's happening in the collective. Like you're able to tune that out and really tune into yourself, tune into your soul wisdom for guidance in the times that you need it, or in the times that you're encouraged to do it. Because I feel like if it hasn't happened, like you're coming into a time when like your soul, your essence, or like your guides are kind of calling you to not necessarily like go into a hermit time, but like they're going to be asking you for very specific, it's like a meeting. In a way, it's almost like God's source spirit, your soul is like, hey, can we book like a Tuesday and Thursday 9 a.m. because there's, you know, we're coming into this big project, and we want to make sure that we're hitting the milestones and that we're getting the updates. And so Tuesday and Thursdays at 9 a.m. we just need you to block that off. Like that's kind of the way it's being presented to me, I think, because like I'm a calendar person, so I think Source is like, she'll understand this. Tell group 3. And so like it feels like, you know, God's source spirit and your soul are gonna be nudging you for a specific scheduled period when all of you can meet, you know, and that there's it feels like a silent meditation kind of time, like just time that it's channeling, like they just sorry, I know I'm saying a lot. It's a lot of information that's coming in. These meetings that you're having, like they have things that they need to download to you, because you're supposed to do something with them. Like, I don't know if you're supposed to write them down. I don't know if you're supposed to record them. I don't know if you're supposed to share them. I don't know if it's just instructions for you, but you'll know when, like, whatever they want you to do, you're not going to miss it, but they just need you to get still. You need to set an appointment for stillness with them, because because we have free will, they can't interject and like create space in your life. Like, they can't get on your calendar. You need to block off the time on your calendar and send them an invite, is what I'm seeing. Like, they don't have permission to your calendar. And so it's like I think this message is just like, hey, can you tell group number 3 that we need to get on their calendar? And like, they're wide open. So it's like whatever time works for you. So like, I'm feeling like they're asking if you can set aside like 2 times a week, like a block of time, whatever feels right for you. Cause I feel like it's going to be different for everybody. And this, you know, this could be like Saturday and Sunday, like it could be Monday and Friday, like, just follow your intuition, but they need 2 times to meet with you every week for as long as they need. Like, it's not a forever thing, but there's things that the bag is full of documents and they need to get you this information. And it's like, I'm just seeing I'm seeing like it looks like a canvas bag, like a Trader Joe's bag, and it's just got all these papers shoved in there. Like, nothing's in binders. It's like stacks of papers. Some are kind of sticking out, but it's like like I'm seeing these kind of light beings carrying these bags, and it's like it's so full that they have to carry the handles apart. But like, they're like, we have to get this to group 3. Like, we just need them to meet so that we can transcribe and get this to them. So you already have this ability to tune into yourself and tune out the collective. But God's source spirit is coming through in your soul, is saying like, hey, okay, now we need to use this. Like, this is part of your magic. Now we need to make time and use this. So that was a lot. Thanks for bearing with me. Okay. So now let's look at your oracle cards. So this first one is a message from your guides. It's an Ask Your Guides card. Okay, and then we've got this exhaustion with helper guides. So this 1 + 9 in numerology is 10. 1 + 0 is 1. In numerology, you break it down to a single digit. So you're being asked to come into a new phase of how you operate. If you have been kind of running yourself ragged, if you've been working or operating under a lot of exhaustion, the message is that like you need to take more rest with your physical body, because your light body has a lot of work that needs to be done, but your physical body can't keep up operating the way that you do now. So essentially, like, there's some things in your 3D human everyday life that are very kind of taxing, and your light body needs your physical vessel to be more rested and restored because of things that like your light body is preparing for, which I feel like is the channeling. Sleep hygiene is coming up pretty strong here. If you, I'm feeling like there's going to be a lot of early mornings. So if yeah, I feel like there's going to be a lot of early mornings. I don't know if you're going to choose to meet with your guides, if you're going to choose to set time aside like early in the morning before you like go about your day, but like what I'm feeling is a lot of like you're going to be up before the sun. And that it feels like that's a shift for you, so like that your sleep schedule needs to shift. Like also I feel like your nutrition needs to shift. Something around your nutrition needs to shift. Maybe eating more kind of yellow or orange foods. But I feel like there's certain things that you need to add more of, and there's certain things that you need to remove. And like some of you know what the things are that you need to remove, and others of you don't. But you've got your helper guides here, so you can ask, and also your body. Like your body knows what it needs and what is not best for its optimal functioning, and so you can kind of like talk to your body. So if there's certain things that, like, let's say you normally drink coffee in the morning, and you get up one day and you're making your coffee and like your stomach just kind of feels like, I don't want this, and you just don't have your coffee. That's a way that you can listen to your body, right? Or like even if you eat something and then afterwards you kind of don't feel good or your digestion's weird, like that's another way you can listen to your body. So you can, you've got those helper guides that you can ask for specifics, as well as your body. So yeah, getting more rest, and like I'm hearing like restoration, like your body needs restoration, whatever that means for you. Like I'm feeling like somebody might have an injury that needs to be maybe looked at again, like reevaluated, or maybe there needs to be like some kind of checkup on it, like a follow-up exam. Others of you, like the restoration is kind of in the habit. So like this, like sleep hygiene, if you used to have a really good like sleep hygiene process or like a really good sleep schedule and you kind of fell away from that, there's encouragement to go back to that. So next we have a Starseed Oracle card. And this message is deep cellular healing, Arcturus energy, physical and emotional healing. Yeah. I'm feeling like this is just kind of connected, right? That like the exhaustion, needing to rest more, allowing for healing to happen. And then, that deep cellular healing, like it's connected to our physical body, right? That like needing to heal on a cellular level. What's coming up is that meditation again. So if there's you might, if this resonates, or if it just sounds like something you're willing to try, like different frequency music for cellular healing. So it's on like YouTube. It's on Spotify. You can find it everywhere, but you can also Google like deep cellular healing, HZ music or frequency music. HZ is for hertz. And so there's different hertz that the music is created at, and that number connects to certain things. Like there's different frequencies. There's like a healing frequency, there's a love frequency, there's an abundance frequency, and so if you want to Google one for deep cellular healing, it might be something that you play in the background. It might be something you fall asleep to. You might prefer like a meditation for deep cellular healing, but I'm feeling like, because this is so like ethereal and kind of spiritual, it feels like in the 3D, like in the higher realms, like this is where this healing is going to happen for you as you're, in addition to making changes to like that sleep schedule and like focusing on like what your body needs. Next, we have an inner child oracle card. And we've got this number 5, be true to who you are. Fear will not stop you from shining. Absolutely. I feel like this is just like a little bit of confirmation that, like, because you've had so many incarnations in the divine feminine, in the spiritual feminine, you might have some residual like persecution stuff in your kind of like in your DNA, in your kind of the cellular makeup of your soul. I don't even know if that makes sense. But there's, you know, the fear of being seen, the fear of being persecuted for being different. Like it's something that I feel like is very common in the spiritual feminine. And so it might be something that you felt before. It might be something that just spirits like acknowledging, but the message is to be true to who you are, you know. And got this unicorn with the butterfly wings, and like there's nothing around, like you're safe, I feel like, is what the message is. Like, don't allow your mind to tell you that people are just waiting to attack you, because there's no one there. And also, again, like, you're a unicorn, like I said, and you've got wings, so you're kind of like a unicorn Pegasus. So like, if you need to get out of there, you got the power to do that, but you don't, you know. You've got these little celestial things here. So I feel like these are kind of guides that are always around you, you know, kind of far away, up close, you know, just there. They're always with you. So anytime that kind of fear around being authentic comes up, just know that it's almost like a sorry, sometimes I get messages and I'm like, I cannot say that, but I'm gonna say it. When that fear around persecution comes up, it's coming up to come out. So really, it's kind of like energetically the equivalent of blowing your nose, right? Like when you're stuffy and you just have, like, you know, you're having allergies or you sneeze and your nose is runny, like you just have to blow your nose to get it out. That's what they're telling me. Like when that fear comes up, it's just coming up so that you can just blow it out. So you can have an energetic sneeze. This is ridiculous, but I hope it makes sense, because that's what I offer: ridiculous spiritual guidance with the tarot card readings. Okay, so let's look at your Night Fairy card. Aw, so we got the Fae of Logic with this little badger. Oh my gosh, these are so cute. Sorry, I'm staring at it. I'm going to show it to you. I just like looking at it. So this is number 5 again. Do we have any other 5s? No. But the Fae of Logic, I feel like with this badger here, like it feels like there's like this protective masculine energy around you, you know, that like badgers can be kind of fierce, fiercely protective. And, you know, this little fae here just really kind of adorned like with these leaves and like these kind of feathers and decorated. And it really feels like this kind of almost like this is like a mascot, right? Like this fae is like a princess and this is like her protective dragon. And it feels like this protective masculine energy that is around you is what brings in logic to help balance out like that divine feminine of being highly intuitive, you know? And so it's like it innately you're so deep into your divine feminine and your intuition and like that kind of receiving and that abundance, that flow energy, that it's almost like this is a spirit guide for you that source has brought in to help balance that out. Because it's also not human logic that it brings. Like it feels like, gosh, it feels more like understanding than logic. Like it feels more like a translation of like common sense. Not that you don't have common sense, but it's because I feel like with logic, it's like puzzles and math and numbers and things like that. And that's not what this is. Like, it feels like it's, it feels like common sense. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I hope I'm translating it in a way that makes sense to you. Like, it's almost like this Fae of logic is translating things from the 3D into a way that you will understand in a spiritual sense. So it's like this Fae of logic is like a translator. That there are things that are of like the 3D world that are like, it's hard for you to understand because it doesn't make sense. And so it's almost like this protective masculine energy, like it works as like a translator, because it's almost like the 3D, the logical 3D, like tangible lower vibration stuff. Like, it's a different language that you don't speak. I don't think you've ever spoken it. And it's like you can hear it, but you don't understand what you're hearing. You don't know that language. You don't have a translator. And so I don't know if I guess that this Fae of logic energy is coming in for you, or it's just recently come in, because it feels like you've never really understood the 3D language. Like, you've always been around it, and like there's words that you've picked up, but you don't know enough to really comprehend like what is happening. And I feel like the Fae of logic is kind of bringing in this understanding around like understanding the human species. Like, there are things about the human species that are very 3D and dense, and it's almost like this Fae of logic is giving you cliff notes on like different human behavior and different human dramas and different human whatevers, because like you're very perceptive when it comes to energy and intention, but you don't understand why people do the things they do. You don't understand why they would choose what they choose. Like, you don't understand why people wouldn't follow like a spiritual path. Like, you don't understand why people continue to choose suffering. And you also don't understand why they don't understand that they're choosing suffering. So I feel like and that might be what needs to be channeled in. Yeah. It feels like because it feels like you're going to be channeling stuff in that your light body is ready to receive, but also this feels different. It feels like they're two different things. It's kind of like taking two college courses at one time is really what it is. Like, it's not so different that like you're not gonna, like, it's not so far. It's not like you're learning how to weld and write poetry. You know, it's like it's all part of the same like light worker degree plan. It's just you're taking two classes at once with this channeling. And so this Fae of logic is what's the kind of masculine structure 3D part of it, that wisdom that's coming in, that's being translated, because it's not really wisdom. It's more data. It's data to help you understand for whatever it is that they don't want to tell me what you're going to be doing. So it's data that you need moving forward is how they're saying it. Okay. And then we have this rainbow brain skull card, and it says, just throw time at it until it's a thing. And so I feel like this has to do with the channeling, is really like, that's how it feels to me, where it's, just throw time at it. But it feels like feels like the universe is like, hey, just pencil me into your calendar until it becomes a thing that we're doing every however many times a week, 2 times a week. Obviously, if you want to do it more, like you can, but I heard 2. Look at this little guy, like just chucking this clock at it, just throwing time at it. This is such a funny deck, but also perfect. So yeah, group number 3. This has been your reading about why you are magical. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, I would love it if you would like and subscribe. If you have already subscribed to my channel, I want to say thank you so much for coming back and hanging out with me. Thank you to everyone for letting me read your cards. Thank you for spending time with me. I really hope that this reading left you feeling supported and strong, and like in case you had forgotten the ways that you're magical, or maybe you didn't know, like I hope that you'll carry these things with you, and always remember that like you are so magical. You know, all of us have our own magic, and sometimes we lose sight of what ours is, right? We can see it so easily in others, but you know, sometimes it's hard to see what our magic is. So I hope that this, you know, was supportive and encouraging, and left you feeling just loved and held and great. And yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely day. If you would like to leave a comment, I would love to read your comment and respond to it. I feel like the comments that people leave always make my heart really happy, that we have this safe space where we can like connect and share things that are maybe a little different than what other people are into, maybe not so different. But yeah, I just really value that like you guys feel like this is a safe space to share your comments, and that you are happy to be my internet friends and connect with me. I just love it. So yes, I hope that you have a lovely day, and that you continue to remember all the ways that you are magical, and I will see you later. Bye. Hello, group number 4. If you chose this 3 of Pentacles card and this little mystery agate guy, this is your reading. So I have pulled 4 tarot cards and 5 oracle cards for you. So we're going to take a look at the tarot cards first. Specifically this one, this 3 of Pentacles. 3 of Pentacles is a card of mastery and teamwork. And so I feel like one of your really magical gifts, or one of the things that makes you just really magical, is your ability to collaborate with people. Like you're just such a, like, you're so open and friendly and just a delight. Like you're one of those people that it's so easy to like interact with you and like work with you, that I feel like people are like, oh my gosh, I wish everybody was like group 4. Like if everybody was like group 4, we would get so much more done. Because like even when you have to do things that are hard, like you know they're hard. Everybody knows that they're hard. So it's like, what's the point of complaining about it? Like, okay, we're here having to do the hard thing. We can either gripe about it or we can just start doing it. You know, I feel like that's kind of your approach to things. And then also like you're someone that like, you don't need to stand out in the crowd. So it's like you don't have any problem being this little guy on the bottom that's supporting these other people. Like you understand that the purpose of the whole coming together and being successful is more important than each of its parts, right? That like when you combine all of your energy, you're able to do something a lot bigger than and a lot more gratifying and impactful than when the individual ego takes over and it's like, well, I did all this, what about me? You know, and I feel like it's more fulfilling to you to be part of something successful with a group of people than to just be individually successful. And I feel like that's because you understand how hard it is for human beings to work together. And so it's almost like anytime you get the chance to collaborate with people, like that's when you get to experience the best of human beings, when there's a successful collaboration. But your gift is just that you're very easy to get along with. Like you're very easy to work with. Like you're not like a pushover either. You know, you're not someone that's like, oh, whatever the group wants. You know, I feel like you're someone that is very adaptable. You're very you might be an air sign, because I'm getting like this kind of like the way the wind is blowing, but it's kind of shifting. And so it's almost like if you're part of a team and there's not a clear leader, you're able to step up. That doesn't bother you. If you're part of a team and there's nobody that wants to take kind of the what's this called? The role that's like not a glory position, like you'll do it. It's almost like people think that you pride yourself on filling the gaps. And you don't pride yourself on that. Like, you just do it because that's what needs to be done. Like, it becomes very evident that there is a gap that no one's going to step into. And it's like, okay, well, group number 4 is here. Like, I'll take that one, and you don't do it. Like, I think people think you do it from this like place of like self-sacrifice. Like, you're a martyr, that you're always like taking the shit jobs, and like, it's not, you don't take them because like nobody else wants them. It's like, okay, for this team to be successful, all the roles have to be filled. And it's very obvious that ego is not going to allow anybody to step into this role because maybe they're uncomfortable, or they don't want to do it, or it doesn't get enough attention, or like they're scared to fail, or there's too much responsibility. And it's like, okay, well, for the success of the team, like, I will step up and I will fill that. Yeah. And I heard, like, even if you don't know how to do it, the people that know how to help you in it. Yeah. And I feel like you also have this really strong mentorship energy as well. And so there might be times that like you have taken, nobody wants the lead role in this collaboration and you take it, and then someone kind of presents as being the most knowledgeable, and what you'll do is gently kind of guide them towards that leadership position, and you just don't tell them that they're the leader, but eventually like they're the one that's making the decisions and providing the expertise. And then when everything is said and done, people might be like, oh my gosh, who was in charge of this? And you will be like, oh, this person. And everybody kind of is looking, especially the person, because the person's like, no, group number 4, like, you were the lead. And you're like, you were the expert. You made this decision and you decided to do that. And if I would have been in charge, we wouldn't have done this because that's not my area of expertise. And like one of your gifts is that you're just really good at allowing people to like blossom. And you're you're very kind of smooth in the way that you kind of shift the energy, right? Like in that example, it's like just kind of letting that like deferring to the expert to answer the questions, or like kind of asking them like, well, what would you do? And like, different things like that. And a lot of people see that in leaders, and then it's like that leader ends up taking credit for what everybody else did, but like you don't do that. You're like, well, like technically at this point in the project, like you became the lead because you were the expert in like these 4 parts of it that led to the successful completion. Those were all things that you guided us in, so technically you're the leader of the group, and it's like they can't argue with that. But also you understand that if you would have said, hey, I think you're the most experienced and you should be the leader, like, they would be like, oh, I can't do that, no. And so it's almost like it feels like you're the parent kind of walking behind the child who's riding their bike with no training wheels for the first time, and you're holding on, and then they start riding and you let go, and then they are like, oh my God, I'm doing it. And they turn around and they realize that like they've been doing it by themselves for this long, and they really do know how to do it. And it's like it's almost like this quiet presence about you. It allows them to have their value reflected back to them. It's like you're a mirror. Yeah. You might be a reflector in human design. But But yeah, just it's such a beautiful thing. So let's look at your other tarot cards. See what's coming through. Okay, Queen of Swords. Really, really great communicator. You're really good at clear communication. Like, you're very good at almost like untangling things. I don't know why. Like, I'm seeing this little bird in a nest, but it's pulling things out that aren't supposed to be there and kind of reorganizing things. So I think that you are someone that's like, you're very mentally adept, and you're someone that's able to take kind of complex things or like convoluted information or like confusing situations, and you're able to untangle them so that other people can understand what's happening. So it's almost like a translation in a way. And like you're not in a leadership role, but if you were, excuse me, if you were, you would do really, really well. Like, you're very good at like communicating, directing, guiding, mentoring, explaining things. Like, you're able, like, you have you have two brains, which you don't, but like, this is what it looks like. You have two brains, and there's the brain that you use and you understand how it works for you. It's your brain. And then you have the other brain that is how other people understand things. And so it's almost like you can hear something and you're like, oh, okay, I get it. And then you can also hear something and realize like, people are not going to understand this. And so you're able to use your brain to translate that information so that the people with the other brain understand it. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So it's like a translator, but not between languages. It's like this conceptual translator, like that you're able to explain things in a way that makes sense to people. Yeah, it feels like, I don't know if you're like in a really technical industry, but like the people that you're around that have these communication problems, like these people in leadership positions, like they don't know how to relate to people. Some of them don't care. They don't care if people get it or not. That's not their responsibility. Their job is to tell people what to do, and those people need to figure it out. Like, I don't care. Like, it's just very detached, like kind of gross. Yeah, Ben agrees, gross energy. And so like the people that you translate for realize that you're this really vital source, like a vital support, vital tool, vital intelligence. And the people that are communicating, that they might even have seen you kind of do this translation. Like, they don't value you. They don't care. And I feel like I'm saying all that, just make sure that you're not taking on too much, right? That just because you have a gift for having two brains, that your brain can work in two different ways, that you're really good at untangling things. Like, don't allow the people responsible for being good communicators to use you as a crutch because they don't want to learn. So take that for what it's worth. Next we have the Empress. And so this is just a really lovely, like, abundant energy, right? Like, this is, it's like an openness, right? Like, strength. It's full, there's no fear, because there's a full faith in the universe. There's a full faith in God's source spirit, in the heart, in the soul. Like, it's a deep, deep, deep level of self-trust. Like, I can be open because I trust my intuition enough to let me know if I need to protect myself. I can be open because I trust myself enough to know who is safe, when it's safe, where it's safe. I can be open because the people that need my gifts will be able to receive me. Like, one of your gifts is that you're able to create a sense of safety around you. And so safety, you know, can be like physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. Like you essentially, you can, what I'm seeing is like when this crane opens its arms, it creates like a bubble. So it's like you're creating this energetic bubble around you, with your energy. And so it's like you don't do it all the time, but in the times that like you feel called to, or in the times that like you're guided to, like you create this bubble around you as well as the people that are in it. And like the bubble feels like when you're creating this bubble, it's not like a one person bubble. It feels like a football stadium, right? Like that you have this really massive energy that you can, like, I'm getting like superhero kind of vibes that like, you know, this isn't like a one person little, cause like, I feel like spirit showing me this is so weird. That like, I don't know if you've ever seen, I've never done it. I've seen the little things in salons, like almost like it looks like a pop-up tent, and it's for spray tanning. And so essentially like it's kind of like this nylon tent that has an opening, so like the person walks in it and then the other person's spraying them, but the tent is around there to make sure that the overspray doesn't get everywhere, right? Because it's spray tan, it's like it's going to stain stuff. And so spirit is showing me like your energy is not this one spray tan pop-up tent. It's showing me like it's like, you know how they have those camping tents that like they don't, you don't have to put them together, like you maybe this doesn't exist because I don't go camping, I don't know, but you essentially shake it out and it just pops into the tent, like it's always in its own shape. You kind of, it's almost like the sunshades in your car, right, where you have to twist them up, and then when you untwist them they just like pop open. Like I feel like that's what they're showing me for your energy, but it looks like a pop-up tent over like a football stadium, like over like an NFL stadium, you know, like one of the ones that has like the cover on the top. I don't know where it is, but like it's just a massive building, right? And so it's just like it's showing me your energy of, it's like this kind of filmy, it kind of looks like hair gel. But it, like, the way that it shows up is like a pop-up tent of hair gel over this football stadium. So that's what the universe is. Spirit's showing me that, like, when you open your energy, it's like massive. So like you're able to like pop up this protective energy around like cities, around events, around people, around areas of the world. Like it's very interesting. It's very interesting. I don't think I've ever seen this before. And I don't know that if you know that you can do this. I don't know if you've ever done it before. Yeah, I can't tell if it's something that you know that you can do, or if like you're learning that you can do this through this message. But yeah, superhero. Okay, so next we have the Nine of Cups with this little adorable dog. Nine of Cups is a card of wish fulfillment. And so like one of your gifts is manifestation, that you are able to manifest the things that you want. Like you are very good at partnering with like spirit to be aligned with those manifestations so that you can receive them, because really that's what manifestation is. That like we're just in the process of trying to get aligned with what it is that we want on a vibrational level, so that when we match to it, it's magnetically drawn to us. So I feel like you are, you know, one of your gifts is that you're really, really good at manifesting things, but you're also really, really good at being patient while that manifestation comes. Like I think a lot of times, like when people are trying to manifest something and it's not happening fast enough, they get frustrated and they try to like force it, or they try to make things happen, or they try to distract themselves, or like all the impatience pulls them out of vibrational alignment with what they're trying to manifest. And for you, like, you're able to just focus on like being in alignment. Like, you're not attached to the outcome. You're not attached to the wish coming true. It's that your focus is on staying in alignment with the vibration, right? So it's almost like the vibration is this pillow, and you're like, okay, I'm just going to sit here, and like, how do I stay here? Right. And you're not stuck. It's not that you're not moving, but like, when you have to go do something, you pick up your vibrational pillow and you take it with you wherever you're going, and then you stay with it. Like, you make sure that it's always there with you, because that's how the manifestation manifests. That's how the wish gets fulfilled, is you being in a vibrational match with what it is that you're trying to draw in, so that it can be matched to you. So I feel like that's just adorable. That's adorable. Also, if you're doing, if you have any tips on how to manifest things, like, please share with the rest of us. If you have any tips on how to stop being impatient and how to stay in vibration, I would also appreciate that, because I am not the best with patience. And then lastly, we have Two of Swords. This card, I feel like, really connects to that two brains thing that I talked about before, because swords represent the mind, you know, and thoughts and communication. And with the two swords, like, you know, they're kind of crossed here. There's this connection point up at the top, and in the traditional tarot, like, a person is holding the swords, and that's why they're crossed. But here we have this little, you know, fighting fish, this little Siamese fish, and these swords are just floating, so they happen to intersect, they happen to cross. And I feel like this is really just kind of talking about that translation, that interconnection gift that your brain has, right? Like, you have this gift for kind of bringing things together, like putting the pieces together, connecting the dots. This feels like a fork in the road, right? Like, you're able to build those connections so that there's a fork in the road where people can meet, concepts can meet, like, ideas can meet, because in that meeting is where the magic happens. In that meeting is where the understanding happens. Like, in that energetic intersection is where, you know, we come across, you know, those people or those situations. Like, it's your ability to translate things is creating alignments for people to come to, like, understanding or like spiritual awakening or something like that. Like, there's something about how you translate things that brings people to an intersection where they can connect to each other. It almost feels like sorry, I don't know why it always makes me laugh when, like, the universe is showing me things and I'm just gonna keep saying it's weird even though it's not. It feels like, or I don't know if you're familiar with geocaching. I am not super familiar with it, but my understanding of it, I'm gonna share with you, because this is what the universe is showing me. Because when I'm talking about the intersection, like creating an intersection where people can come together, the universe is like geocaching. And so geocaching, as I understand it, I could be wrong, but as I understand it, is that people will, it's like a digital treasure hunt or like a real treasure hunt. I'm not really sure, but people will leave things for other people to find, and they'll leave clues, but the clue isn't like, oh, this mystery agate is at 12345 Front Street. Instead, they'll say, okay, this mystery agate is near the intersection of First Street and Front Street, you know. And then it's like, you have to go and kind of like, you have to be in the right place at the right time, or you have to come to that intersection to be close enough to find the mystery agate, right? Like, maybe you got clues along the way that, like, the mystery agate is on top of a giant sunflower, but there's no sunflower in the intersection. But then you see, oh, there's a statue of a sunflower. It's probably on top of there. So I hope that makes sense. And if that is not how geocaching works, don't come for me. If you've never heard of it, that's fine. But I hope that makes sense. Like, that is one of your gifts, that, like, your ability to translate things with your two brains creates this intersection where people can come to get the things that they need on a spiritual level. It's not necessarily things they need from you, though. It's like it's like if there was a geocaching app, like you're the app that people put the information into to like give people clues to find whatever it is that they left. Yeah. Okay. So that was fun. And a little bit weird. Okay, so now we've got your oracle cards. So first we have this Ask Your Guides oracle card. Oh, new life. Oh, and then the baby. Sorry. Okay, new life. Empress. The Empress card is often associated with a pregnant woman. With this new life card, it's 28. 2 plus 8 is 10. 1 plus 0 is 1 in numerology. So new beginnings, obviously. But you're coming into a time when you're like, yes, it's a new life, but it's more like a new life. Not even life lesson, because that sounds like something hard's coming. This is like a new chapter of your life that you're coming into. Like you're just like a woman who's pregnant, you know, like a woman that's never been pregnant, you know, that becomes pregnant. That's a whole chapter. And then when the baby is born and she becomes a mother who's caring for a child for, you know, however many years she cares for them, that's another chapter. So it feels like you're coming into like the birthing part. Like you're coming into this like longer stage of what it's like to be a mom for like 18 years, 20 years. I mean, like your moms are moms until, you know, they pass away or their kids pass away. Like just because they don't live at home and just because you don't cook for them or like clean up after them doesn't mean that you're not the mom, right? And so it feels like this new chapter that you're coming into is a really significant one. It kind of feels like it's going to be the I don't want to say the final chapter. That sounds so morbid, but like the chapter that you're coming into is the one that you will remain in for the rest of your physical 3D life. And so it feels like part of that, you know, there is the teacher guides here, but it also feels like your purpose, part of your purpose is to be a spiritual teacher. You're already, as a translator, you're already really doing that. Like, because you understand like the collaboration, the ability to translate complicated concepts, like the ability to provide a nurturing, safe space, a very large nurturing, safe space to people, the ability to get into vibrational alignment and not be deterred by impatience. And then also this ability to create these intersectional opportunities for people to experience things. Like if that's not teaching, if that's not being a teacher, I don't know what is. So it's like you've already been doing it. You just wouldn't call yourself that. So don't let the title freak you out, because you have guides that are with you, right? So it's like you can think of it that you're coming into the chapter, like you're coming into the beginning of your teaching career, and like you're going to be doing assistant teaching, but like you have mentor teachers that are going to be in the classroom with you all the time, you know? So like these teacher guides are like, they're always there, right? Like very close to the crown chakra, the heart chakra, the solar plexus, and then all these little kind of stars around, like very close to also like the aura. So like you are surrounded by your teacher guides. So I feel like some of them are going to be, you're going to meet spiritual teachers in, you know, in person, and those people will be like mentors, support systems, encouragers, like really kind of like soul family. And then you're also going to have an abundance of kind of celestial spirit guides, like in different forms. Like I feel like you're going to have little, like you have some little Tinkerbells, like little fairies. You're going to have like earth spirit guides, nature guides. There's a lot that is around you. And so if becoming a spiritual teacher or moving into this chapter, being a spiritual teacher feels like a lot, or it feels scary, as you continue to move into it, or as you begin to move into it, because you're not there yet, as you begin to move into it, you're going to start to feel the presence of like all these kind of spiritual, celestial, magical energies around you. and I feel like eventually it's going to get to the point where it's like, that they're there. And it's kind of like having company at your house, right? But it's like the kind of company where like they have a key and they like pretty much have a room, and like if they come and go as they please, but it's like, it's not weird if you come home from work and it's like that person's there. It's like very much like a bestie soul family energy. Or even like if you're a parent and you have adult children and they come back to town to visit, but they're like, well, I might be in Thursday or Friday, and then they get there Wednesday and it's like, that's like, great, you're here earlier. It's not disruptive. It's not uncomfortable. So I feel like that's how your guides feel. And then we've got the Starseed Oracle card. Perspective. Interesting. None of this matters. Zoom out. Common ground. Okay. I feel like this message is very much for like the potential part of you that's fearful about being a spirit guide. Because it's saying like zoom out, but it's also this collaboration energy. Like the times that people really struggle to collaborate, or the times that people like make these little dramas, or just like the times that humans do like the weird nonsensical human things that they do, like fight and dislike each other and be jealous and whatever. Like the reminder is to have perspective, and that none of this matters. And like if you zoom out, we're all, however many billions of people there are on this planet, like this is where we all are. We're on this little rock in the middle of this giant solar system surrounded by nothing, and it's like, that's what we have in common, that like we're all in this one experience at the same time. So all these small things that seem like they matter, they really don't, because when you zoom out, like we're all earthlings. And it's like, yes, we can find ways to like divide ourselves and like label ourselves and disagree and all this stuff, but it's like you're coming into, no, your purpose is going to be to teach this to people. So like common humanity, like oneness, like that's going to be something that you will be teaching eventually in your spiritual teacher role. And it's also, I feel like it's also meant to be a really comforting message that like when you start to freak out about how big this is in the big scheme of things, none of it really matters. Like you can't change anything. You can't control anything. You can't force people to receive this. And so there's no responsibility on you if they don't choose to receive it, if they don't choose to hear it, if they're not open to it. Right? Because I feel like that's where the fear is coming from. The fear is coming from like, what if I don't explain it right? Or what if I teach it wrong? Or what if they don't get it? Or what if I fail? And it's like, none of that really matters, because the people that are going to get it will get it. And the people that do not want it will not receive it. And that's not up to you. You don't get to decide. Like there's nothing that you can do to force this down the throats of the people that don't want it. And so that fear that you have around like, what if I do it wrong? Or what if they don't get it? Like that doesn't matter. Like we all have free will. I hope that makes sense. Because I feel like sometimes like none of this matters kind of makes it feel like what you're doing doesn't matter. And that's not what it means. I kind of think of it in terms of like our systems, like the systems of government, the systems of law and society and gender and sexuality and all these systems, all these social systems that we've made up. And like I kind of make a joke and I say like, nothing's real, everything's made up, and nobody knows what's going on. Because like when you really think about these systems, like money, like a paper dollar only holds that value because someone said it does. You know, like if you take $1 to like another country, until you exchange it in their currency, it doesn't matter, right? If you were to give $1 to a whale, they doesn't matter to them. It doesn't mean anything. It's not real to them, you know? And so I feel like that's kind of the same concept with this, like, none of this matters, where it's like the things, all things happen in divine timing. And those who receive. That's what I heard. I hope that makes sense. Like, I hope, yeah. I hope I'm going to trust that if it doesn't make sense, that Spirit's going to get it to you in a way that makes sense. And so next we have this inner child card, and the message is be still. Cultivate a space of stillness and silence to just be. And there's this beautiful, this kind of looks like what your crane energy looks like. But yours had little bubbles in it. Like hair gel. Yeah, but there's this kind of magical energy. Yeah. And so I feel like the times, if this spiritual teaching thing feels too much, too big, we've got this person sitting, be still, zoom out. I feel like this imagery can even be like going inward, you know, to do some meditation, right? Like to go inward and give yourself like the space to just be surrounded by God, source, spirit energy in that meditative state. Yeah. Next, we have a Night Fairy Oracle card. Aw, transformation. And the swan. That's beautiful. I really love these cards. They're so cute. Yeah, so you're going through you're coming into a transformative time. The card's number 14. 1 + 4 is 5. 5 is the number of change in numerology. So makes a lot of sense. I wonder if you manifested this. And I don't mean that like in a blamey way, but I wonder if you were trying to manifest like some kind of change or making some kind of impact, or like either this was like a soul agreement that you had, like your soul had before coming here, or, you know, in your manifestation process, like you manifested something that was much bigger and much more impactful than just the life that you were living at the time that you kind of planted that manifestation. And then we have this rainbow brain skull card. And it says, you're never more than a half step away from being back in the flow. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. To me, this just really feels like when you get too far in your head, you know, if there's like a lot of fear that's coming up, if there's a lot of pressure around this new chapter, if you can take some time to just be still, get quiet, and kind of tune into your heart, and that will bring you back into the flow. Like, and that'll also show you how close, you know, that like, because I think for you, like when you get out of flow, you don't veer very far off course. You know, it's like when you're in flow, you're standing in the river. And when you get out of flow, it's like you just take a step out of it, you know. But I think it feel like when you're out of flow, it feels so foreign that it actually feels like you're really far away. So it feels like when you're out of flow, like your brain says you're way in outer space, right? But like when you tune into your heart's like, no, just take one step to the right. It's fine. Like, we're okay. We're doing great. So yeah. Yeah. And the times that like you can feel like your mind and your ego flaring up, I'm just feeling really strongly like that guidance is to like get quiet, get still within yourself, you know, and listen to your heart. And it's going to navigate you back to, it's going to direct you back to being in the flow, and you'll be fine. Yeah. Okay. Group number 4, this has been your reading on what makes you magical. Obviously lots of things to include, hair gel energetic protective bubble over mass areas of the planet. Just so weird, but also not, because I feel like we need that. We need that. We need your light. We need all the light workers. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for letting me read your cards. If you are a subscriber, I want to say thank you so much for coming back. If you enjoyed this reading, I would love it if you would like and subscribe if you are not a subscriber. I'd also love it if you left a comment. Like, I love reading your comments. I love commenting back to you guys. Like, I love our little internet friendship. I feel like it makes my heart happy that, you feel safe enough to share things and that I can kind of create that safe space for us to share all our little weird spiritual stuff. So yeah, feel free to leave a comment. Again, thank you so much for letting me read your cards. Thank you for hanging out. I hope that this reading has left you feeling just so aware of what your magic is, and like so aware of like how divinely guided and protected and really just like loved that you are, because like you just are like we are all children of the universe. But I feel like the universe loves each of us differently in our own like unique way, right? Just like parents with children, like every parent loves each child differently. And so you're just like super, super loved and held and protected. So I hope that you enjoyed the reading. Thank you for being here. I hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you later. Bye.